how to record DI guitar in under 5 minutes. Let's go. Use FL Studio 20, but you can use whatever you like. Alright, so once we have the DAW open, we're going to navigate to the mixer. I already have this pulled up, and basically the first thing you're going to want to do is we're going to select a channel, and that channel is going to be the thing we use to record the clean signal. We're going to take channel 2, and we're going to select the input that you want. For me, that's input 2 on my interface, but it could be different on yours. It really depends, honestly. So from here, we are going to use this track to record the signal. But in order for you to be able to hear the tone that you want, or like get a preview of it, what you can do is route this to the next 2 channels, or even just 1. But personally, I do 2. So that'll give you the left and right guitar, because essentially what we'll do is we're going to pan them. So that becomes the left and the right guitars respectively, and these 2 channels will get amp sims, which we'll throw on and talk about in a second here. But one thing I want to mention is that you'll notice down here that there is a bunch of like little spaghetti strings. Now this is showing where things are routed. I do not want this routed to the master, so I'm going to take that off. So if that does that for yours, you're going to want to do that as well, so that it just is like this. You're not going to hear the clean signal, essentially. So that makes that invisible, essentially, and then you can just hear the tone from the amp sim on these 2. Or 1, depending on how you go about this. But to record guitar, you're going to definitely want to do the stereo 2 takes anyway. But alright, so once we've done this, and once we've taken this off the master, we've unrouted this from the master, we are going to throw on some amp sims. Now, personally, I always use Audio Assault because their shit kicks ass, and it's never been super expensive, so I can always support that. So we're going to actually pull up 2 of my favorites. Now we've got the amp sim on the channels, and you know, you're going to obviously choose the type of amp sim dependent on the tone you want. This one is great because it has a nice variety of things it can do with a simple interface, and I think I also got it for like $7. And it sounds great. They have these really neat 3D cabinet things as well, so that's fun to mess around with. And you can change the impulse responses and have third-party ones, which I have a ton of. We'll talk more about that, but I always recommend the Jens Bogren ones because they're just super easy to use, honestly. The nice thing about this method is that you are only recording on channel 2 and not on channels 3 and 4. So all that channels 3 and 4 are doing are giving you the tone of the guitar. So that's, you're going to hear the distorted guitar, clean guitar, whatever you set this up to sound like, that's what you're going to hear. But it's not going to record that. And the great thing about that is it lets you change the guitar tone. So say you didn't want it to be distorted guitar, you want it to be clean guitar with like delay and reverb. You could totally do that and it would be easy. Always advocate for using this method because it's really simple, and all the components that you would need to get going with this are pretty straightforward to have. Alright, so we're going to finish up by showing this in practice. So I have a cover that I'm working on, and I'm going to actually pull it up over here. So the intro has a mono guitar that splits into stereo, and then from there the full band kicks in as well, which is pretty sick. And so we'll listen with the amp sims and stuff on, and then we'll solo stuff, we'll take stuff off, and you can hear what it sounds like. It's gonna be wild. Alright, so we turn the amp sims off, and then this is what we're left with. So yeah, it's pretty wild, and it's pretty easy, and you should definitely record your guitars like this.